Welcome to Module 4 of the Childhood Feeding Collaborative online training, helping parents to feed well so children can eat well. This training is for community health workers, promotores, parent educators, or other staff who work directly with parents of young children. This training is created through the generosity of the Health Trust and supported by the Santa Clara County Public Health Department, helping parents to feed well so children can eat well, and its parent education handouts and resources are part of the Public Health Department's commitment to prevent chronic disease in early childhood. Module 4 concludes this child feeding education training. In this module, you will learn specific parenting strategies for mastering family meal times. You will also learn how to integrate the division of responsibility into other nutrition education messages. Notice that our learning task numbering is a continuation from previous modules. Module 4 learning tasks are: learn strategies for including children in family meals, integrate what you learned into other nutrition education messaging, and reflect on your learning. These two handouts are an important part of your learning and well worth the effort it takes to use them in the suggested manner. The worksheet, Reflect on What You Learned, requires your written input. You can type directly onto the PDF. Before starting this training, you should have downloaded this module's handouts and printed them out or saved them onto your desktop. If you have not done that, you need to pause the training, go back to the Module 4 webpage, and open the handouts. There is a lot that goes into having a family meal. In Modules 1, 2, and 3, you learned that the division of responsibility teaches parents about providing structure and routine to create the right environment for success. In this learning task, you will learn very specific ways to help parents with common mealtime challenges. Specifically, in this learning task, you will learn how a child learns to eat new foods, mealtime moves and countermoves, how to manage mealtime tantrums, and how to ask the right questions. Some children learn to eat foods readily. Others are slow to accept new foods. Here is how a child learns to eat new foods. First, a child needs to see that the food is part of what her family eats. Children watch their parents eat the food and they notice if they enjoy it. Next, the child may explore the food by putting it into her mouth and spitting it out. Tasting and not swallowing a food is a safe way for a child to become familiar with the taste and texture of the food. Parents can teach the older child to use a napkin to spit it out politely. After the child looks and tastes a few or quite a few times, she will be ready to swallow it, which is a big step. Even then, she won't always want to eat that food. Remember what we learned in Module 1. Children need lots of opportunities to learn, and their eating preferences change day to day and meal to meal. The parent must not pressure the child to eat or even praise the child for tasting or eating a food. Praise is pressure, and pressured children eat less well, not better. For some children, these 3 steps take place the first time they are offered a food. Some children take these 3 steps only after months or even years. A new vegetable can take lots of times. A new candy or French fries can take a single time. Here's what the research says. Children may need 10 to 20 or many more neutral exposures before they eat a food. Neutral exposure means a food shows up on the table again and again with no pushing or prodding, no persuading or cheerleading, no bribes or nutrition lessons. Learning to eat a new food is part of learning to eat. Pressure does not help a young child learn. Second, parents are role models. Children learn to eat new foods by watching their parents eat and enjoy those foods. It doesn't work when parents fake enjoyment or show artificial enthusiasm. You can't fool a child. And third, pressure to eat makes children eat less, not more. To help children learn to eat new foods, they need the parent to provide a positive learning environment. They need the parent to understand the child's learning style and speed in trying and tasting new foods. Provide the right tasks and foods for the child's developmental age. Give the child lots of opportunities to learn to eat the new foods, and trust that the child is capable of learning to eat the family foods. These are the same parent teaching skills you learned in Module 1. With these 4 teaching skills, parents are not trying to get the child to eat. Instead, they create a neutral and supportive environment for learning. I want you to think about your dialogue with parents. Does your parent education emphasize parenting and feeding practices or fixing the child? Notice how the content of your education changes with these 2 different emphases. With one, you teach parents about their role as their child's teacher. With the other, you teach ways to get the child to eat. Notice I am using that word get again. Here is an example for each kind of education. When the focus on parenting, you might say to a parent, when your child doesn't eat a food, think of him as needing more opportunities to learn to eat the food. When the focus is on fixing the child and getting him to eat, you might say to a parent, use the 2-bite rule. Have a family rule in which the child must take 2 bites of every food. If he doesn't like a food, he can say no thank you after his 2 bites. I don't recommend this approach. Many children have difficulty learning to eat new foods. Parents need to understand what is preventing the child from learning. Here are 2 examples. For the transitional child learning to eat solids, excessive milk can spoil the child's appetite for solid foods. Teach parents that milk drinking belongs at the table. Milk should not be given in between scheduled meals and snacks. This will fill up a child who does not eat well at mealtime. It doesn't take much practice for a child to learn to enjoy desserts. 1 serving is enough. Record your reflections on helping a child learn to eat on this worksheet now. Click pause on the training while you complete this task. Then go back to the presentation and click play to start the presentation again. Pause the training to take out and read this handout now. Here is a scenario from your handout, Mealtime Moves and Countermoves, in which the child does not want to sit at the table and begins to misbehave. Child's move, she is naughty at the table. Parent's countermove, lets her down from the table. Child's move, she comes back begging for a food handout. Parent's countermove, explains mealtime is over when she leaves the table. Parent ignores the tantrum. This is good advice. When the parents let the child leave the table and say that mealtime is over, the child learns what is expected of him. By not letting the child return to the table, parents teach the child the rules for family mealtime. With the division of responsibility, these are the rules for when and where. This solution may end in a tantrum. By not giving in to the tantrum, the parent helps the child learn. The child is also learning consequences and learning to take mealtime seriously. Being asked to leave the table may mean that the child gets hungry soon and will have to wait a while before getting another chance to eat. Mealtime Moves and Countermoves is available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Children have tantrums. They have tantrums when they are overwhelmed by their feelings. Children can learn to have tantrums in order to get their way, but they don't start out this way. This advice on how to manage tantrums comes from Stanford University psychiatrist and professor Dr. Stuart A. Grass. Tantrums are normal. Avoiding tantrums by giving in makes them more likely to reoccur. Timeouts in a safe, quiet place are the best way to handle tantrums. No parent enjoys a child's tantrums. However, tantrums offer parents an opportunity. I'm going to read this statement adapted from classic pediatric text. In order for a child to feel loved and secure, he needs and even wants to know what the adult dislikes in his behavior. That knowledge creates certainty and security about how to be in the world. You can reassure parents that when they respond to a tantrum as suggested on the previous slide, they show the child that he is loved and help him feel secure. For mealtime tantrums, the child can be ignored or given a positive time out so that he has time to get himself under control with the parent's help if needed. Ideally, the timeout is in a comfortable and safe location where he does not disrupt the family meal. Make sure the child knows that you like having him at the table, just not while he is having a tantrum. This feels very different to the child than a punitive timeout, which is not recommended. As an educator, you know that it is important to ask the right questions. Use open-ended questions to help the parent answer with useful information. An open-ended question cannot be answered with yes or no. Some questions are hard for parents to answer. You can help the parent by asking the same question in different ways. Here are some examples of open-ended questions that can help you start a dialogue on feeding or eating. These same questions are provided on the developmental-based parent handouts on how to feed. How is feeding going is an open-ended question that allows the parents to direct the conversation to what feels most important. Questions on feeding ask about the parent-child feeding relationship. Questions on eating focus on how or what the child eats. With the next question, what do you like about how your child eats? Some parents may have a hard time recalling what they like about how their child eats. However, most parents can answer the next question. What do you wish was different about how your child eats? Once a parent answers that question, most can tell you what they like about how their child eats. The family mealtime questions will guide you on how you can best educate the parent on how to include the child in family meals. Think about the parents in the focus group study that we discussed in Module 3. I quoted two parents whose children would not sit at the table and eat. Both moms were frustrated because their children went back and forth from table to the television or their games. We also saw a video of Jacqueline who eats in front of the television. Jacqueline eats everything. She is not a problem eater in terms of what she eats. Would you be asking the right question if you asked these moms about what their children eat? I'd say no, but an open-ended question like how is feeding going or how is mealtime going will let the parent inform you about mealtime challenges. The parent's answers to your questions will tell a lot about whether or how the division of responsibility is being followed. These are common feeding strategies that parents use when they take over responsibility from the child. Notice that I indicate which of the 5 keys to the division of responsibility are broken. The parent tries to get the child to eat more or less than the child wants. In this case, the parent has taken over the child's responsibility of how much to eat. The parent has rules about which foods the child needs to eat first. In this example, the parent has taken over the child's responsibility of whether or not to eat from what the parent provides. The parent rewards the child for eating certain foods. You'll recognize this strategy as pressure to eat, which relates to the child's responsibilities of how much and whether to eat. The parent sneaks food into the child while the child is playing. This parent practice denies the child his responsibility of how much and whether to eat. By considering where the division of responsibility is broken, you can provide the needed education. However, as you learned, all of the 5 keys to the division of responsibility are needed for feeding to go well. Here are ways that the child does the parent's responsibilities in feeding. Children take over these responsibilities only if the parent allows. Parents allow the child to eat different foods than the rest of the family. In this example, the parent is giving in to the child's picky eating. It is the what that is broken. Children can't take over this responsibility by themselves. Parent feeding strategies create this situation. Parents allow the child to eat whenever she wants. Parents may give this responsibility to the child when they don't provide eating routines. The parent lets the child leave the table and come back during mealtime. This is a common problem in which parents give the child responsibility over where eating is allowed. Your handout, Mealtime Moves and Countermoves, provides the needed solution to this problem. And last, parents allow the child free access to the refrigerator. In this example, the child has responsibility for all three parent responsibilities of what, when, and where. Learning Task 11. Integrate division of responsibility into other nutrition education. Most nutrition education messages aim to get children to eat more of certain kinds of foods, such as fruits and vegetables, less of other foods like desserts and junk food, and to eat none of other foods, such as soda and other sugar-sweetened beverages. Sometimes these messages are targeted to the parent, other times to the child, including preschool-aged children. By now, you understand how children learn to eat, and that how they are fed can help them learn to eat new foods and be a part of the family mealtime. Nutrition education guidance that is limited to what children should and should not eat can be delivered in a way that is supportive of good feeding practices. However, as you can imagine, it can also be delivered in ways that contradicts the division of responsibility and results in parents pressuring their child to eat, restricting their eating, or ignoring the impact such manipulations have on family mealtime. Here are 3 quotes from parent educators about using nutrition education curriculums that tell parents what children should and should not eat. They say that these curriculum make parents reluctant to share the truth about what they eat, don't let us acknowledge the importance of desserts and other treats in families' lives, and are frustrating because I know that my nutrition education is not what they want to hear about. Effective nutrition education cannot ignore food culture, family traditions, and preferences. Integrating what to eat with the division of responsibility can prevent these unfortunate dynamics that frustrate both parents and educators. In the next slides, we'll look at what research and policy tells us about these challenging concerns. In this commentary in the journal Obesity, the research review showed that dietary restrictions backfire, leading to more preoccupation about food, eating in the absence of hunger, poor self-esteem, and weight gain. These are not behaviors and beliefs we want children to adopt. In its handbook, Pediatric Nutrition, the American Academy of Pediatrics cautions pediatricians that young children tend to believe that healthy foods do not taste good. They recommend that physicians emphasize nutrition education on food enjoyment rather than exclusively on health. This is good advice. Your learning with these 4 modules enables you to approach feeding in a way that children learn to eat all foods in a positive feeding environment. 25. This study, published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, reports on the findings from a focus group study on the motivators and barriers to healthy eating among low-income pregnant women. Researchers report that respondents have the impression that healthy foods do not taste good. They conclude that taste seems equally important or even more important than the baby's health in motivating many mothers' food choices. For children and adults, food enjoyment and good taste are stronger motivators of food selection than is health. You are well aware of this from your work with parents. Here is how to integrate division of responsibility into nutrition education focused on getting kids to eat more. Nutrition education that encourages parents to get their kids to eat more is usually focused on fruits and vegetables. In fact, few children eat enough of these wonderful foods. First, Teach parents to follow the division of responsibility and eat with their children in order to optimize the child's ability to learn to eat more of these foods. In Modules 2 and 3, you learn that children who are pressured to eat less, and that children who eat with their families eat more healthy foods, including fruits and vegetables. Second, teach parents to be their child's role model. According to the focus group studies of parents conducted by the United States Department of Agriculture, parents value being their child's role model and are motivated to adopt behaviors that support this role. The family mealtime provides the right environment for role modeling matter-of-fact and genuine enjoyment of healthy family foods. Third, teach parents that when they eat with their children and enjoy their vegetables without putting pressure on the child is more likely to eat them too. Hiding vegetables in a casserole or dessert or other such dishes is pressure. Hiding vegetables is different from cooking with them. Vegetables in cooking add flavor, texture, and color, and nutritional value. If the child doesn't eat them, well, everyone else in the family does, and the child can pick them out of the food until she is ready to eat them too. Eating less of certain foods, like junk or fast food, and some snack foods, is a frequent focus of nutrition education. These foods with low nutritional value are often called sometimes foods. To help children eat less of certain foods, educate parents to follow the division of responsibility. Children will eat high-calorie, low-nutrition foods less frequently when the parent buys and serves them less often. Every family, whether they are aware of it or not, makes this decision each time they shop for food and is part of their meal planning. When parents choose to buy high-calorie, low-nutrition foods and drinks, educate parents to serve them only at scheduled meals and snacks. When the parent is consistent with structure, the child will not snack constantly throughout the day. Family food culture almost always includes foods with low nutritional value, including desserts and fried foods. Children need to learn to enjoy these foods in the context of scheduled sit-down meals and snacks without feeling guilty, just like every other food. Educate parents that eating less of a food is accomplished when they enforce eating routines. This reduces access to those foods that the parent wishes to limit without the negative effects of food restriction. However, children must be allowed to decide the amount to eat from the foods that are offered. One exception, parents should limit desserts to one serving so that the child does not fill up on them at mealtime and not have room for other nutritious foods. This supports the division of responsibility because it supports children's learning to eat a variety of foods. Guidance to eat less of certain foods should not be targeted to the child. All family members should be offered the same food choices. Do you remember learning how the division of responsibility is focused on parenting and not on fixing the child? When parents serve different foods to their children in order to get them to eat more or less of a food, they want to fix how their child eats. This is not a strategy that works over the long term. Parents may need help understanding what is a normal serving size for a child. Parents who serve children adult-sized portions often pressure the child to finish this inappropriately large amount of food. This handout, located in your resource folder, shows a realistic serving size for children at various ages. The handout says to use these serving sizes as a starting point and to let the child eat more or less than this amount. Parents are advised not to worry about how much their child eats or doesn't eat. There are a number of nutrition education curriculums that promote zero consumption of particular foods. Most common is the recommendation to eliminate soda and other sugar-sweetened beverages. Rethink Your Drink, Potter the Otter, and 5210 are nutrition education campaigns that aim to eliminate all sugar-sweetened beverages for children. Educate parents that young children should never be given soda or other sugar-sweetened beverages. Children develop their food preferences before they are 2 years of age, so it makes good nutritional and feeding sense not to offer soda and other sugar-sweetened beverages in early childhood. these beverages have zero nutritional value. When the parent doesn't allow soda, sugar-sweetened beverages, or other high-calorie, low-nutrition foods at home, let the school-aged child eat them when he eats outside the home at friends, parties, and other events. If these foods are not demonized, but treated neutrally like any other food that the parents choose not to buy, the child will be able to enjoy them without guilt and without needing to sneak them. Many parents enjoy soda and do not want to eliminate it from their home. In early childhood, children can be told that it is a grown-up food in the same way that parents might describe an alcoholic beverage as being inappropriate for the child. Your program may use one or more nutrition curriculums or parent education handouts that focus on what children and parents should and shouldn't eat. Here is the philosophy that Santa Clara County health educators and nutritionists Sally and Jeremy use to integrate the division of responsibility with what to eat more, less, and none of. The first concept that they teach is the division of responsibility, because how to feed is the foundation for what to feed. Jeremy and Sally teach parents how to cook unfamiliar foods with a focus on preparing fruits and vegetables. Parents and educators cook together, then all sit down to enjoy the food and conversation. Sally and Jeremy are role modeling how to enjoy family meal times to support learning to eat new foods. They also acknowledge their own limits with accepting certain foods and don't apply pressure to the parents. Jeremy and Sally's programs look to the future child, not to what the child eats right now. They teach parenting skills for a lifetime that enable children to enjoy family meals and feel good about eating and learning to eat a variety of food. These talented educators have put a tremendous amount of thought into integration. Think about the alternative of providing food selection education and feeding education without any integration. It would be confusing to the parent. Here is your last worksheet. Reflect on your learning about integrating your nutrition messages of what to eat with how to feed. Doing this self-assessment now will help you in the future when the challenge of integration comes up during your work with parents. Remember, your different nutrition education messages should support each other and make them more effective overall. Click pause on the presentation while you complete this task. Then go back to the presentation and click play to start the presentation again. Additional program materials are accessible in the Resources folder on the Childhood Feeding Collaborative online homepage. Refer parents to the 10 Steps to a Healthier You 3-class parenting series. This excellent series includes the 5 keys to raising a healthy, happy eater class. Links to the flyers in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese are located in your resource folder. In this 3-class series, parents learn about the division of responsibility, how to establish structure and routines with their children, how to manage tantrums, and behavior change steps to help families eat healthier. The classes are interactive, so parent questions are discussed. This outstanding resource will build upon and support your guidance to parents. I recommend that you refer all parents to these classes. The division of responsibility and good parenting are relevant at any age. Congratulations, you have completed all 4 modules of helping parents to feed well so children can eat well. Download your certificate of completion from the Module 4 webpage. Please note that you must fill in your name and then print. This concludes the training. Thank you for your commitment to learn and for your service to parents. Please feel free to contact me about this training or how you use it to guide parents in feeding well.